Hello, I'm Dan Morris, and welcome to the Nottingham College podcast. Anime is a medium that has experienced huge leaps in popularity over the past few years, and it may be something that you've watched casually at some point, as many mainstream series can now be found on all sorts of streaming services. I, however, am someone who is particularly passionate about the medium, and I have experienced an intense interest and enjoyment for anime for many years now, to the point where I tend to gravitate towards it over other forms of entertainment. Because of this, I ended up deciding to conduct a sort of experiment on myself, with my main question being whether or not someone with such a large preference and passion for anime can develop a similar kind of passion for live action film. So basically, I'm someone who's always enjoyed film on a casual level, which is vastly different to the way I enjoy anime. To find out an answer to my question, I decided to watch a plethora of movies varying in genres that are either highly rated online or recommended by a friend or family member, since I thought that as I don't really have any particular taste in film, I'd benefit from an array of different kinds of films, so I can both develop a taste and find out the kinds of films that I gravitate towards or prefer over others. So to summarise, I basically wanted to find out if experiencing what is supposedly the best that film has to offer would change my personal preferences and biases, as well as pinpoint the differences in the ways that I enjoy both mediums, and through some interviews, find out more about both anime and film and the people who love it, along with their reasons for their interest and whether they align with my own. Now, one thing that I really love and appreciate about anime is the level of escapism it provides. It's always given me a kind of retreat from the world, in a way that nothing else has ever really managed to. This is also probably one of the largest reasons why I've developed such a passion for it, but this kind of escapism can often be a double-edged sword and cause a descent into obsession and avoidance of the real world, especially if your current circumstances aren't ideal. And this is something that I know from experience, as during particularly difficult times in my life, I've used anime as something akin to a crutch or coping mechanism, retreating into it to distract myself from all my problems. And it's a phenomenon that is often a byproduct or cause of hikikomori, which is a Japanese term referring to people who isolate themselves from other people and society and stay in their homes for extended periods of time. Well, now personally I've never deteriorated to the extent of being a hikikomori, but when I have experienced aspects of it, it's been stuff such as social withdrawal, and during this time was when anime was the most powerful for me. And it's an issue that is unsurprisingly, most common in Japan, where the medium originates, but as anime has grown popular globally, it's safe to say that it's not a Japan-exclusive issue. This was something that made me wonder if my love for anime is built purely on the escapism that it provides, and as a result of my movie watching, I arrived at some interesting conclusions, most notably the fact that I enjoy films and anime in much different ways than each other. So to summarise, I found that it's easier for me to connect with live action as it involves real people in the real world, and with anime what usually happens is that I either completely fail to connect with the fictional world and characters, or I get incredibly drawn in, much more so than if I were to consume something live action. And furthermore, this made me curious as to whether other hardcore enjoyers of anime consume it for the same reasons that I do, and luckily I didn't need to look too far to find this out. Sitting on the outskirts of Nottingham is the Dunkirk Community Centre, which is where the Nottingham Anime and Manga Society, also known as NAMSOC, meets up every Tuesday evening, and I decided to pay them a visit to get involved with them and find out what they do, which has led me to become acquainted with Keith Brown, the Society's treasurer. As he's someone who has been into anime for significantly longer than me, as well as someone who has for many years helped run a hobby group dedicated to anime, I was intrigued by what kind of perspective he might have and whether or not we'd share views and tastes, and I interviewed him to find some answers to my questions.
Give us a brief overview of what your role at NAMSOC involves.
So I have been the treasurer of NAMSOC since, I would think if memory serves, December of 2015, or that sounds about right, because I've been a member of NAMSOC, regular members of NAMSOC since 2014. Because I'm thinking of when it was when I was in the last. Because I tend to around that time of year, I tend to think of okay, what year of university was I in? I graduated in 2015 and then worked back from there. So it was in my final year of uni. I was a regular member, but I've been in society since before that.
So when did you first get into anime, and was there anything in particular that caused you to become interested in it?
So I'm from Carlisle, and that is a city that is the city that everything forgot. And the reason this is important is the fact that it's not a big city. It is probably smaller than Derby, I would say, in terms of like metro area, and it had basically a couple of game shops. I don't remember there being any form of comic shop. There was no geek presence in the city whatsoever. So that was the limit of what I was into, was what I could see on terrestrial television and what Dale knew about. So I didn't. I mean, this is a big regret of my young years, is that because I was there, I didn't know much about certain things. I would have loved to have gotten into things when I was younger, to actually maybe learn Japanese when I was better at learning languages. But the idea was the fact that I wasn't into that because of where I was geographically. Now, and that brings me forward to when I really got into it. So this is the reason why it's twofold. So I'm in college, still in Carlisle, mind you. Dale is actually working at Wilkinson's and has pulled out of the bargain bin on one of his shifts a DVD of Digimon that we both watched when we were younger. It's the first series, and we basically watch it together, and I go, cool, I'd like to watch that again. And I obtain all of Digimon, and then go, oh, what else? Okay, Pokemon, all card captors, all Flint, and basically just rewatch and binge watch those, and then go, oh, what else is that they're doing? So the snowball starts rolling. The key big next one would have been Pretty Cure, which was a Toei animation Magical Girl stories, because I think I like Magical Girl because I watched Cardcaptor Sakura. It's by the same people who make Digimon, the animation for it, that is. And then I get into that and start doing that, and then I fall into Tokusatsu, and then I find subgroups, and then I find all the weird stuff that those subgroups were done, and there's the snowball starts rolling and rolling, and then I go to university. And then the snowball just picks up speed because I joined the Anime Society.
Would you say that your interest and enjoyment for anime has increased or decreased or stayed the same over the years, and why?
So that last answer basically says it got greater when I was around 18 to 20. And then it decreased due to amount of time related, because when becoming a final year of university and... but when I say it's decreased, it hasn't gone back to the thing. It's basically stayed at it went from, as a kid, casual, to I'm getting into it, to I'm really, really into it, and I'm watching everything. It's the only thing I'm doing other than playing video games or when I'm outside of university, to I'm going to go dial it down to a sane level so I can actually do other things. But it's all a big part of who I am.
From what Keith told me, I could certainly tell that anime is a huge part of his life, even more so than mine, despite the fact that the most intensive phase of his interest had long since passed. Another thing that I was also thrilled to learn was that we share a similar disdain for many of the stereotypes that anime as a whole falls victim to.
It's a self-conception that we've been battling for years, that you've either got anime is giant robots, anime is the R18 stuff, anime is the battle shonen stuff, anime is and that's just the general population, what they think. And that's purely because and this is true in any fandom, in any facet of life, the loud minority.
I will say I enjoyed my conversation with Keith a lot, but it was more interesting for me to turn my curiosity to the side of film, as it was pretty much foreign territory to me. And as a part of this, I spoke to Steph Tomaszewski, who is a freelance film producer and edit assistant, to learn more about their job, as well as what it is about film that they find so appealing.
Could you give me a brief overview of what your job involves?
So my job currently is mostly as an edit assistant. So what that involves is taking the raw footage from a shoot, backing it up onto hard drives, and then placing it inside the edit software, or what we call ingesting the footage. And from there, it's a matter of organization. So I will label each clip, put them in folders. If it's a multi-cam situation, like there's multiple cameras filming the same thing, I'll do what's called a sync map, where I take all the footage from the day, layer each camera on top of each other, and then each audio source at the bottom, make sure they're all lined up, and then sort of section out the different scenes the editor wants, label it, put it in a folder for them, and I'll also do a little bit of cutting myself. So if there's a small little scene that needs doing, if it's something that needs touching up, they'll send it over my way and go, hey, can you just cut this out, or can you sort this out for me while I do the bigger stuff, mostly. Yeah, that's what I do for the most part.
Okay, cool. So what made you choose to study and work in live action film?
Well, it started when I was younger. I always had a fascination with sort of behind the scenes documentaries of all the films I used to watch.
Yeah.
And just take some water.
It's okay.
And it sort of grew from there. I always found the technical stuff intriguing, all the camera rigs, the different setups they would have, anything big and technical. And I had become so fascinated that my parents had bought me a little camera, and I made a music video with it. And it's rubbish. I made it when I was 14. It's so terrible. But that was sort of the first stepping stone, and then I went on to a program called RCT Make It, where again we made music videos for local artists, and I really got to see the production process, pre-production, storyboarding, going on top of a mountain and chasing our actor down it. And all the editing as well. I got to have a play around with that, and that's where I sort of went, "Oh, this is interesting. I might like to do this." And then I went to college, and of course in college you get a taste of everything. Got a taste of editing there as well, and thought, "Yeah, this is what I want to do." So when I went to my undergrad, and ultimately my master's degree, I chose to do editing, specifically.
I found that what Steph mentioned about connection in terms of film compared to animation was exactly what I came to discover during my film watching. I found that despite my ability to get incredibly invested and connected with certain anime characters I love, these characters are far and few between when compared to real life actors. Like Steph said, it's easier to connect with a real face than something drawn.
In terms of the strengths, then, what live action does better, I would say ease of access for a start. Anyone can do anything live action. Animation, as groundbreaking, as beautiful as you can make stuff, it takes a lot more time. And a lot more money in some cases. So the strength of it really is you can just put a camera somewhere and start filming, and then you have something. Connection as well. People tend to be able to connect with a real face, I think, a little better than
absolutely.
something drawn. Not that it doesn't happen, but it can lend itself to a greater sense of connection, because it's like, oh, that's a person. I see a person. But also, like, it has a sense of like realism, and in that then there's prestige. Like a lot of prestige TV is live action.
Now then, is anime or film better? Has this entire experience changed my preference? Well, to be honest, it's difficult to say yes or no. So for starters, my bias towards live action film is pretty much gone now, in the sense that I no longer believe that anime is an inherently superior medium. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't love it any less than I did before, but the love I have for it no longer clouds my judgment or perspective when I consider what kind of heights other mediums can reach for me. Also, my appreciation for film has definitely deepened after all of this, and I feel more of a desire to seek out new ones to watch, which until now is something I've never really felt particularly compelled to do. I guess the answer that I've arrived at after all of this is a mix of both yes and no. I'd say that my personal biases have changed, but not my preferences, so anime is still what I prefer, but film is something that I'm more interested in now as a result of my bias being removed. But the one thing that anyone should take away from this experience is that it's always a great idea to expand your horizons and give things a chance, even if you think that they won't appeal to you at all. So I went from caring very little about film to finding ones that hit me almost as hard as some of my favourite anime in the span of a couple of weeks. And if you're listening and you're someone who loves film but has never seen anime or thinks it's dumb, do what I've done and give the other side a try. There are so many reasons why I love it so much, and I personally guarantee that it won't take you much searching to find a series that you love too. I'm Dan Morris, and this has been the Nottingham College Podcast. Until next time, and thanks for listening.